Hi, I'm Maggie Strasburger, and I'm going to be presenting my extra credit today. I'm going to explain the physiology of respiration as it applies to speech and non-speech breathing. And I'm going to start by explaining and describing the passive forces at different stages of breathing, and also the active forces that are needed to overcome the passive forces. And to describe all this, we're going to be using the purple graph. And so to begin from points A to B, inhalation is passive and also inhalation is only positive here. At point B, passive forces of lungs are at equilibrium of the rib cage and the net force or the net alveolar pressure is at 0. Also, point B is the beginning of tidal breathing and the resting expiratory level is 38% at B. So as you take a tidal breath in, you're going to move to point C. So again, from B to C, you're taking a tidal breath in and you are using your diaphragm. And elasticity makes the lungs contract and the rib cage is trying to get to 55%. So you end up using 70% vital capacity for a tidal breath because you do 55 minus 38, which gives you a 17% change. So moving on, so we did B to C, B to C. And so now moving on from C to D, you are using your external intercostals to contract, and you're going to need your diaphragm as well. And you need these muscles of inspiration and your diaphragm again, because then you're overcoming forces of both the lungs and the ribs. So point C, the lungs are wanting to get smaller and no net force is coming from the rib cage. At point D, there's a full inhalation, which is 100% vital capacity, and the lungs and rib cage are trying to shrink. So the more we exhale, our rib cage will exert all kinds of pressure. And also at point D, expiration is passive. And so going back a little bit, so from D to B, you're contracting no muscles, and all you are doing is simply relaxing. From B to A, which is right here, you need your accessory muscles of expiration, which are your internal intercostals and your abdominals, to overcome forces of the rib cage trying to expand. And then I might have said this in the beginning, but just to make it a full circle, I guess, from A to B again, you're using no muscles, the rib cage is relaxing the muscles of expiration, and inhalation is passive. So that is the purple graph. Moving on to the speech graph. So an important thing to just remember is that conversational speech is 35 to 65% of vital capacity. So to begin, we can see that the first breath is a tidal breath because there is less air being inhaled and a smaller inhalation, exhalation, and a smaller volume. At point B, it is a speech breath because you're taking in more air, 1,000 milliliters, and it is 30% of vital capacity. From B to C, the subglottal pressure is increasing, and we use the external intercostals to slow pressure down to keep loudness at a normal level. So that's B to C. B to E is a speech breath is happening, and it is beginning at resting lung volume and is taking in a speech breath, 1,000 milliliters. It is a short inspiration and a long exhalation, and during this, it is going into expiratory reserve volume. And important thing to note, remember, is in inspiration, the diaphragm and external intercostals are contracting. And then from C to E, there's a big speech breath happening, big speech breath. And during this, you are using, again, your diaphragm and external intercostals for inspiration, and then inspiratory checking for expiration. And this is all done to keep the subglottal pressure at 3 to 5 centimeters of H2O. E to G is a tidal breath because, again, less air being inhaled, smaller inhalation, exhalation. From C to X it is at 50% vital capacity, and this is also where inspiratory checking takes place. And inspiratory checking is when the external intercostals put brakes on exhalation, so air doesn't escape quickly, and also to maintain the subglottal pressure. At point X, there is less passive pressure, so exhalation muscles must engage to maintain pressure through vocal folds. And then after point X, muscles of exhalation are going to kick in. The more the lungs empty, the more we have to engage in the muscles of exhalation. From X to E, you are recruiting the muscles of exhalation. And from X to D, you're engaging the internal intercostals. So that is the speech graph. And something that's very important to remember is the ratios. So, because tidal and speech are very different ratios. So for tidal breathing, the ratio is going to be 50% inhalation to 50% exhalation. But for speech breathing, the ratio is going to be 10% inhalation to 90% exhalation. So that's an important thing to remember also. But yes, that is my extra credit. And I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you.